you know that mature industries, what we call mature industries, they do represent a significant share of the employment. Whether you are in Spain but also when you are in France or Germany, just think of the agro-food business, for example, which has moved about 5 points in total manufacturing employment over the last 10 years. And is the only one who has not reduced employment in France. So they are a growing interest in policies. It's not only carrying in high-tech industries, but in carrying in what I would prefer to call established industries. And policymakers have very different ways to think of the problem, depending whether they are at the national level or whether they are at the regional level. At the national level, what we witness most is that they care about what I would call the framework conditions. No longer about the specific industry or a specific subset of firms, but about framework conditions, which means the tax conditions, and is there a tax credit for innovation, for example, or for research? They care about education. Do we train the adequate people, especially at the bachelor and technical level, because at these levels, very often we miss people. They care for the IP conditions, and etc., etc. All right, but they don't intervene directly on a given sector per se. When you are in a region, your region has a limited number of sectors. All right, and very often a number of key firms in that sectors, and thus you are very much. You are far more inclined to discuss how do you organize yourself so that these sectors do thrive or survive or develop or maintain their jobs, and you tend to have different type of tools that are linked to what very often people call clusters or filières, where you try to drive the group of firms in that industry to think about the future and share with them the work so that they have the adaptation capabilities. You cannot do the work of firms, but what you can do is be far nearer to firms to think about what is important for them in the next 10 to 10 years. And one of the very classical answers has been to build clusters or regional filières where firms discuss together, work together, and in a way prepare together the set of technologies or relationships that they need for the future. So this drives to very different policies. And I think we have not taken the measure about the role of the regional and the difference between the regional and the national in handling these issues. So that's the type of thing I'm going to discuss. At the same time, there is a very rich portfolio of instruments. We have a very rich portfolio of instruments, and in a way of supporting firms. All right. So it's not a question of new instruments; it's the question of the mix that is very different at the national and at the regional level.